Hey, what's up? This is Dilio T2K, and this is my Crazy Bone story. This is the story of how I got my first and only currently major music placement. And this is a story to hopefully inspire somebody, maybe to talk about the records of it myself and just kind of put it out there. So this is going to be a longer video than usual, so bear with me. So if you're working or you don't mind having me on in the background, this would be the time to do it. This isn't the most comfortable story for me to talk about, and the reason that is because the story isn't finished. The story ends up with me right here on YouTube talking to you about this. So, you know, it didn't change my life, the whole experience, as bad as I wanted it to. But we'll talk about that. But nevertheless, it's something I'm very proud of and very happy about, and will never take for granted. And maybe we'll talk about some more stories that I've encountered over my life. So this is the Crazy Bone story. This is how I got a placement on his album. So the story, we'll start off at my time in Full Sail. I was living in Florida, and I had a bunch of friends around, and we were making all this music, and you know, some guys were trying to get me, hey man, let's make some tracks. I'm like, oh, okay. Then I finally said, okay, let's do it. Brought my computer over to their house, and at the time we're at Full Sail, so we're all renting apartments all around the campus. You know, and so we're just collabing, making music together, and you know, these guys had nice equipment in their house. Two good friends of mine. And they happened to know some people who knew Krazie Bone. So that's the premise of that. So Full Sail's wrapping up. We're graduated, but we're still all kind of like a crew, kind of working together. We had this group called ONE, and it was just a bunch of people doing all kinds of stuff. I was pretty much one of the main producers of that. And in that time, you know, we were just jamming. Me and a couple guys, they were trying to start their own group, and I was producing them, and I was doing background and helping them engineer and stuff like that. And you know, we had a good time with that, and it was mostly all fun, man. And I was just making tracks for them and just really having a good time. And I know I said that twice, but I'm just trying to remember how things went. And as things progressed, we finally had like a collection of about like 6 or 7 or 8 songs done with me and these two guys, and we're just making music and stuff like that as they were forming a group, and we were with this crew and all that. Well, some of their friends knew some people who knew Krazie Bone, and so it eventually came around because we were all down there and kind of networking, mixing around. We had this body of music, and I had production, and then so when they let their friends heard it, they heard my production on it, and my production impressed them enough to say, hey, what else you got? So I started shooting tracks to the friends of Krazie Bone directly, but it only came after I started making music with the other guys. So that worked out, and so, you know, after a while, it's like, yo, just keep sending me some tracks and make me some tracks, stuff like that. I was like, cool. But the difference was I wasn't emailing them. Wasn't MP3. MP3 wasn't like so freely emailed back then. It wasn't like that. It was like CD was still more of a king back then. This is 2002, 2003, 2004. CD is still king. And long story short, with that, you know, after making this little EP album with some friends of mine, and them letting hear it, and then me finding the right person that's like, yo, man, I know Krazie Bone. You know, he's trying to put an album together and stuff like that. You know, why don't you send me some tracks so I can let him hear them? I was like, okay, cool. And so I'm shooting this guy tracks, you know, and at the time I was working with Reason. I think it was like Reason 2.0, 2.5 at the time. And I was in my Reason phase. And so while things were kind of going on with that slow motion, you know, I was meeting different people. Like I met another producer I used to hang out with called Veda Nobles. Look him up. He's legit, nice guy. I wish I could come see him again down in Florida. Hopefully one day I can pull that off. But so the tracks are floating around, and at this time it's a crucial time in my life because Full Sail's done. I'm graduated. Had to find a job to keep the apartment I lived at right out of school, you know. So none of the scenarios where you're right out of school, you got all this debt. So what do? I work at the store of broken dreams. In other words, Guitar Center. And that was a challenging time because I wasn't really quite experienced to work in sales. but I needed a job, and I'm like, what better place to work at than Guitar Center? And so while I was doing that, I was having a hard time selling a lot of equipment because I was like the kid, and it was just a rough experience, you know. I mean, it turned from my favorite store to the worst store in the planet because you know, it was like great to go there and visit, but to work there was a whole nother world. And so it was kind of, things were kind of rough. I was Pro Tools certified, and I, you know, fresh out of college, and you know, okay, cool, things are going to work out because I'm with this group. And then things started kind of going a little stray because, you know, I would work with some producers and I say, hey, we're going to figure out a place to stay so you can just exclusively work on production for us. I was like, cool, okay, I can do that. I'm just going to hang out here at Guitar Center a bit more. But later on, eventually, support from home stopped. And that was a big financial help to help me stay in Florida after the school and stuff was done and stuff like that while I was working. And so it was a really painful time because I had a great circle of friends. I was hanging out with white, Latino, Filipino. I mean, I was just really hanging out with everybody, and there was a salsa scene that I was really into. And you know, things weren't really turning up solid with the whole Krazie Bone situation to get on this album. But my tracks were still floating around in that direction. But here I am trying to figure out where am I going to live, where I'm going to stay. I got this producer saying, hey, we're going to take care of you. And there's no clear, definite answers when or where we're going to live or anything like that. And at the same time, you know, I'm running out of help from home. And I didn't really quite could find a job to help support myself at the time. And, you know, so it was a rough time. So that abruptly came to an end. And I had to leave Florida, and it was abrupt, but the friends I had there were amazing. A lot of them were single. Now they're married and stuff like that, so they probably can't hit the streets now like how they used to. But I had so many great close friends. It was a really painful time to leave. And but it gave me a going away party. It was really nice. I think I still got pictures of that somewhere. And I had to leave Florida, and of all places I had to go to was Flint, Michigan. And, you know, and the producer people and the crew, they're like, why, you know, they're not really truly understanding what my situation is. Like, you know, I'm not going to just crash over your place's house. I'm not going to really just do that, you know. And I'm a kid. This is the first time I moved away, so I wasn't really comfortable with just crashing over people's places like that. I didn't really quite, that just wasn't my thing or stuff like that, you know. And so, you know, I left Florida way before than I wanted to, and I had plans to move to Atlanta, and I did that. So I remember it like yesterday. I'm in Michigan, Flint, Michigan, trying to figure out a way to go back to Florida. I had a family member down there that I lived with, or I could live with. That was a whole situation right there. But I got a phone call from Krazie Bone's people. They're like, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to send you the contract, da-da-da-da, and stuff like that, you know. And at the same time, I had another producer help me out with a lawyer, but the lawyer, and that was the messed up thing. Out here I am in Michigan with nothing, really nothing to my name except my equipment. I just came out of Full Sail. I got Krazie Bone's people down in Florida, Krazie Bone's out in L.A., a producer that I worked with that was already established who helped me get a lawyer was in Florida. He didn't really quite understand what I had to leave. It was just messy. And then the lawyer was based in New York. So here I am bouncing between Krazie Bone's representative, myself, and the lawyer all in different places. And here I am trying to work it all out. And I remember that cold winter where we were just doing all these phone calls back and forth, and then finally things started to come together. The lawyer took care of their part, made sure I had certain things done. But, you know, he was more or less doing a favor for the producer who referred him to me. He wasn't really, like, really trying to represent me and take care of my interests. But here I'm a kid. No one in my family knew about the stuff that could help me. No one really... I was on my own with it and just did the best I could. But definitely negotiated a good price for the track. Sent out the 2-track. And then once I got the deposit... well, let me back up. So the contracts and stuff were all done. I signed it. And actually, it got started while I was in Flint. Then things delayed even more. Okay. Then I moved to Atlanta. literally owing the bank money and sleeping in a living room. And I remember the winter time because I remember that heater being all up in my face trying to stay warm in the living room when I first moved to Atlanta, Georgia. Eventually things started moving forward with the track. I got a call again saying, hey, here's a contract. We're going to send you a contract. Make sure your lawyer look at it. So here they are sending me the contract. I have to forward it to my lawyer. My lawyer is sending me the revisions. I had to get it back, send it back to them, take it to revisions. Once that was done, I finally got the final contract. And this is me kind of escaping out of Flint, Michigan to get to live in Atlanta, Georgia. Because I was like, man, I got to live anywhere but Flint. I was really scared of Flint. I'm like, oh, man. So, you know, the contracts are bouncing back and forth. And things got signed. And I remember it was kind of funny. Now it's starting to come back to me a little bit. At the time when I was first living in Atlanta, Georgia, I was interning it myself in a Titanium Studios. And I remember that I did the track actually in Florida, but I still had the file, so I had to render it all on separate tracks in Reason for Pro Tools. So here I am mixing it all together in Pro Tools, and I'm at the studio where I'm interning at, and I'm using their big setup. And I'm like, man, I'm it, man. I'm a producer, you know what I'm saying? So, because I got this big HD3 system, and all I'm doing is importing my tracks to a Pro Tools session because at the time the contract was signed, the deposit was taken care of. Now I sent out the multi-track over to LA for them to record, and you know, it was just crazy. And I'm kind of abbreviating it, but yeah. And I was an intern at the studio shortly after I moved to Atlanta. Wasn't making enough money to stay interning. You know, I needed a job. I was just trying to figure things out. But that project was moving forward. Sent out the track. Check came in. Well, actually, no, the check came in. Big old check. I know I took a picture of it. It's somewhere. And got a nice check for that track, for that beat. Sent out the Pro Tools session. And the rest is history. What I didn't like was that, looking back on that, I should have did something different with that money. Instead, I kind of just did what any kid would do when they get a bunch of money, is that shop around, not save it, not invest it. And, you know, I had a family member that was kind of really like, yo, you should go here and shop here. Let me take you over here and let me take you over there. You know, and I don't know what's going on, and I'm a kid. I never managed a lot of money like that before, so, or else I would have bought a Mac, which probably would have been worthless now. And all the clothes, and it was crazy. I remember the car I had was in an accident while I was out of town for something. I forgot what it was. I was out of town for something, and the car I had was smashed. So that car had to get shipped to a repair place, and I had this rental truck for a while. So it was great. So I was driving back and forth to the studio in this nice Silverado, and it was great for a second. And this is, you know, and I just got paid for this track, and I'm like, wow, this is a great way to start my life here in Atlanta and being a producer that I want to be. But I did a lot of shopping for clothes and things, and I could have did something different with it, like maybe move to LA or something, you know. I would have done that differently, but I don't hate myself or regret it too much because I didn't really know. And again, I have no family that could really guide me in the way that I needed to be as a music producer, because there was only one other music producer in my family that I know. But this was like a major placement deal with lawyers and all that stuff, and I was just doing the best I could with what I had. But fast forward later, I was getting my first job at the first church. No, I'm not even working there yet. I'm kind of like an intern slash kind of pseudo intern slash employee, but I was there at the church a lot because my family member that went there. And I remember getting my first copy of the CD. I had to go to the store and buy the CD. That's how bad it was. But on the back of the case, it said producers. And alongside with Little John and these other producers, it said Dilio. And it was just a surreal experience. I was like, oh my God, my name's on this case all over the country. Like, are you serious? However, it was disappointing because I couldn't be over there in LA and be a producer with Krazie Bone. I just didn't have the resources to get over there for that. But it still was a surreal experience to get that kind of check for my music, for my passion, and to get to see my album, well, to see his album with my name on it in plastic wrap inside of a bookstore, Best Buy, Dilio, what, you know. So that was a life-changing experience. Well, no, it wasn't. It was a very life-touching experience. It didn't really change my life. I was like, man, okay, everybody's gonna know I did on this album, and you know, I was like, wow, okay, I'm about to take off. I'm about to blow up, but you know, that didn't happen. And like I said, it was an experience I'll never forget, because that's what I wanted to do. That was the dream. That was the dream. Be this producer for major artists and stuff like that, and you know, to do it all the time, stuff like that. And here I am, like in my mid-20s, pulling this off, and things just worked out. But it's a tough story to tell, and I'm trying not to get too emotional because this was back in '04, and it's 2015 now, and I've not had one major music placement. And then, you know, even with this vlog, I'm quite sure everybody outside looking like, yo, you should have did this and you should have did that. But man, I can't explain it. I don't understand it. But the story leads me to here, talking to you about this now. And it's been a tough 10, 11 years since then. And the reason is just like, yo, I did it once before. I know I can do it again. And it's been a lot of years of a lot of people talking, a lot of really crappy industry issues. You know, a lot of people saying, oh, you're good, we're going to do this. And it's been a long, hard kind of life for my dream after that. It's like, where do I go? Where do I turn to? Because, again, the guy who connected me with Krazie Bone, he's doing his own thing, handling his business, you know. I never met Krazie Bone, so I can't even build a rapport with the guy, you know, and I'm still a stranger probably to him, you know, but I've always wanted the opportunity to thank him in person for selecting my music for his track, just for that one, you know. And so, you know, that's pretty much it. But now the story is, you know, it's been a really challenge of my faith, and you know, this may be a little personal, but I haven't really felt like I could see with God eye to eye on this, because I never quite understood. There was never no clear one thing to really show me why I haven't pulled that off again. And a lot of times I ask God, why did I get that one, and how come it's been almost 11 years and I haven't pulled it off again? And I know everybody will come with all kinds of reasons that probably won't really help me out, because they don't know all the details of what my experiences are, especially in this city. But it's like, yo, I know I can do it, and I don't understand why I haven't pulled it off again. And it really hurts. It really hurts. It's something I struggle with, because I know that I did it before. It'd been different if I never got a major placement and I never got paid. And no, I didn't have proper representation, and no, I didn't have everything taken care of. But I got one on the board. I got one on the board. And so it's been a pursuit of that ever since. And, you know, I've helped other people, and then I got involved with these churches, and that all went downhill on me. And that's something that I have never really quite understood with God on that. And that's been a real challenge. That's like been probably the #1 challenge in my faith. It's something I never really could see eye to eye with God with about that. Because I believe that there should have been something that happened to help move me forward, when there's other people from my own town who's produced for Jay-Z and Beyonce, for crying out loud. And I'm just as talented as them. But for some reason, the soil on their land grew while mine's still stagnant, you know. But that's why I say I'm still here. I'm still trying. It really hurts sometimes. because I believe I can do it, and it's a hard story to tell because it's like, yo, like what could I do that I haven't done before, and the whole industry's changing and everything. But I still do what I did back then. A lot of people talk about, oh, well, you should charge. You should charge. Sometimes you got to find the right people to help out, and then things work out. That was how it worked out the first time. But you got to find the right people with the right connections to do that for. And so I don't help out too many people anymore, except for those few. I know it's a 20-minute video, but you know, that's my story, and I'm still here. I'm still trying. I didn't need a producer battle to get a placement. I just needed the right people who believed in me, and things to line up and work out like how things do for so many people. So that's my Krazie Bone story. It's still going right now, and you're watching it. Well, this is Delio T2K. I hope this helps somebody. You know, I wish I could have ended it on a proper, like, yeah, I got another placement, and I'm making music full time, and I'm a producer, and I'm right here. And you know, when things happen for me, they're gonna be like, "Where you been, Delio? What? Wow, out of nowhere." I've been here. I've been here trying to figure this out, trying to work this out in a way that works for me. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, you should have did this. I don't really want to hear it. And the reason I don't want to hear it is because you don't know what my situation was. You don't know the details. Find your way. I'm finding mine. Your solutions may not be my solutions, and my solutions may not be your solutions. But that's my story. So, like I said, it's still going. If you watch this all the way to this part, it's 22 minutes long, I know, and counting. I really appreciate that. All right, well, I'm done. We're going to talk about more. That was my Krazie Bone story. Y'all take care.